Loving greetings. We now shall learn a beautiful chant known as the Sarva Devata Gayatri, which encompasses all forms and names of your Ishta Devata, your chosen deity, from Lord Rudra to Lord Ganesha to Lord Muruga to Nandi to Narasimha to Narayana to Brahma to Mother Durga and eventually to Mother Sai, beloved Bhagwan. So let us go through. It is all set in the Gayatri Chanda, the Gayatri meter. And whatever rules we've learned from pronunciation, intonation, Visarga, Anuswara, Dirga, Swarita, we can now apply for all the chants. Before we commence any chant, what must we first do? Yes, we must put the Tanpura on, find the scale, that is the middle key, and thereafter we can assess each syllable. Is it middle? Is it high? Is it low? Are the sounds singular or are the sounds stretched a bit? And we can assess it accordingly. So we start with Tanpura, we find the middle sound. The first syllable, Pu, is middle sound. Ru is going high. Shas is middle. Ya is middle. Vid, Ma is middle. Sahas is middle. Now we have double A going down. Very good. Rak is double A going down. Shas, middle. Ya going high. Maha, middle, but stretch of the A to A is there. Maha. De is going low. Vas, middle. Ya, high. D, middle sound, stretching of the I to E. Ma, singular A, middle. And then the I sound will be stretched a bit here because we're coming to the end of that particular verse. We have a long vertical, so we'll stretch the I a little bit. From I to E sound is there. So let us try. Purushasya vidmasas rakshasya mahadevasya dhimahi. Purushasya vidmasas rakshasya mahadevasya dhimahi. Then we have Tan, middle, No, singular going high. Then we have Rud, middle, Ra, with the Visarga followed by a Pa sound. What would Rudraf become? Yes, it will become Rudraf. Tanno Rudraf pra, middle, Cho going low, Da, middle, and Yaata. What can we say about Yaata? Yes, it's a Dirga Swarita and it's a full wave. We've got a stitching of the A to A. So we'll say Prachodayat. And with that T coming to an end, we're going to say the T sound at the end. Prachodayat. Tanno Rudraf Prachodayat. Purushasya vidmasahas rakshasya mahadevasya dhimahi. Tanno Rudraf Prachodayat. Purushasya vidmasahas rakshasya mahadevasya dhimahi. Tanno Rudraf Prachodayat. Let us proceed to the next verse. And as we go along, we see that they are repetitive words, which makes the chanting and learning a bit easier. Already we can see Dhimahi is there from the previous line, and Tanno Rudraf Prachodayat as well is there. So essentially what we need to learn is the first 4 or 3 words. Tat, Pu, Ru, Sha, Ya, Vid, Ma, He. Ma, Ha, De, Va, Ya. So Tat is middle, Pu is middle, Ru singular U going high, Sha SH sound is there, and stretching of the to A. Sha is middle. Ya singular and middle sound. Tat Purushaya, Tat Purushaya. Vit is going low. Ma, middle. He, high. So we have low, middle, high. Beautiful 3-step intonation is there. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Tat Purushaya Vidmahe. Which deity we are addressing, meditating upon? Mahadevaya Dhimahi, Mahadevaya Dhimahi. And the repeating line, Tanno Rudrah Prachodayat. The entire line together, Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Mahadevaya Dhimahi, Tanno Rudrah Prachodayat. So what we can also put in this particular verse, which is not written, is a slight comma, just to give us a slight pause. As we know, when there's a long vertical line, we must pause a little bit, even if it's a few nanoseconds, just until we proceed to the next line, so that it's not rushed completely. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Mahadevaya Dhimahi, Tanno Rudrah Prachodayat. Wonderful. Let's continue to the next verse. We now have a few familiar words, and more are starting to appear. We have Tanno Prachodayat, Dhimahi we've seen, Vidmahe we've seen, Tat Purushaya we've seen. So essentially we are learning Vakratundaya and Dhanti. Wonderful. So we have this prayer to Lord Ganesha, a curved trunk. Lord Ganesha is reminding us that in life we might have a few bends, but it's not the end, because the Lord will mend everything. So we have Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Vak, middle, Ra, middle, Tun, going low, singular U going low, Da, stretch of the to A, and middle sound. Ya, singular going high. Very good. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Vakratundaya Dhimahi, Tanno. We've got Visarga now. Danti becomes Dantif. Very good. Prachodayat. We can add that slight comma in. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe. Slight nanosecond pause. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Vakratundaya Dhimahi, Tanno Dantif Prachodayat. Very good. Let us proceed. Now again, we know Tat Purushaya, we know Vidmahe, we know Dhimahi, we know Tanno, we know Prachodayat. So we're learning this part, Chakratundaya and Nandi. So prayer to Nandi. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Chak, Ra, Tun, Da, Ya. So we have Chak, middle, Ra, middle, Tun, going low, Da is stretched, and Ya, singular, going high. Very good. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Chakratundaya Dhimahi, Tanno Nandif. Because of the Visarga, very good. And Nandif is middle. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Chakratundaya Dhimahi, Tanno Nandif Prachodayat. Very good. We'll now proceed. Wonderful. We now move to verse 5. Let us look once again for the familiar words. Tat Purushaya we've seen, Vidmahe we've seen, Dhimahi we've seen, Prachodayat we've seen. So Mahasenaya and Tanna Shanmukha Prachodayat. So let us learn Maha, Ma and Ha, both middle intonation, but the stretching of the to A for Ha sound. Ma, Ha. Se going low, Na, middle sound, stretch of the to A, and Ya singular. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe, Mahasenaya Dhimahi, Then we have tan, nash. Tan, nash. Nash is going high. Tan, nash. Then shan is middle. Very good. Muk, middle. Very good. Ha, middle. And we have visarga, so muk, huff. Muk, huff. Tan, nash. Tan, nash. Tan, nash, shan. Tan, nash, shan. Tan, nash, shan, mukkaf. Tan, nash, shan, mukkaf. Prachodayat. तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महासेनाय धीमहि तन्नः षण्मुखः प्रचोदयात् तन्नः षण्मुखः प्रचोदयात्. Beautiful. Prayer to Lord Muruga. We now proceed and beautiful prayer to the Vahan, the vehicle of Lord Narayana, namely Lord Garuda, and he has golden wings. And an eagle has a wonderful ability to rise above storms, to rise above clouds, literally. And metaphorically, it teaches us to rise above any problems, to go to an altitude of divine magnitude. So we have Tatpurushaya Vidmahe, we've seen, very good. Dhimahi, we've seen. Prachodayat, we've seen. And Tanno, we've also seen in the first verse, so we have Tanno there. Tatpurushaya Vidmahe. Now we have Su, middle. Var, is middle. Na is middle. Su, var, na. Su, var, na is middle. Suvarna. Then we have Pak. Pak is going low. Sha, middle. And stretching of the earth to A, and Ya singular going high. So 3 steps, low, middle, high. Suvarna Pakshaya, Suvarna Pakshaya, Suvarna Pakshaya, Dhimahi, Talno. Garu is middle sound. Da is middle sound. And we have the Visarga. We then apply it. Garuda becomes Garudaf. Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Suvarna Pakshaya Dhimahi. Sorry, a slight pause can be there. So we have Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Suvarna Pakshaya Dhimahi Tanno Garudah Prachodayat. Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Suvarna Pakshaya Dhimahi Tanno Garudah Prachodayat. We now proceed to verse 7. In verse 7, we have 1 or 2 familiar words, but we also have quite a unique set of new words which have their own intonation. So let us first touch on the words that are familiar. We have Vidmahe and we have Dhimahi. We notice that Tanno now has a Dirgha Swarita as well, which we'll come to. Prachodayat we've seen. There's one small typo in this particular word, Hiranya. We should bring the N to this part just after the Ra. So it becomes Hiranya, Garbhaya. With that, we'll continue. What is quite unique with the starting word is the low intonation. We have Vedat, which is going low. Ma, also low. Na, middle. And Ya, singular going high. So we start in Tanpura. Vedatmanaya, Vedatmanaya, Vidmahe, Vedatmanaya, Vidmahe, Hiranya Garbhaya Dhimahi, Hiranya Garbhaya Dhimahi. Now we have, instead of Tallas or Tanno, we have Tanno. We have a Dirgha which is a half a wave. Tanno Brahma Prachodayat Vedatmanaya Vidmahe Hiranya Garbhaya Dhimahi Tanno Brahma Prachodayat. And then we have the Dirgha Swarita, which is a full wave. So we have Vedatmanaya vidmahe Hiranyagarbhaya dhimahi Tanno Brahma prachodayat. Notice for Brahma, we don't have a visarga sound. There is no H with the dot at the bottom, so it just remains as Brahma as opposed to Brahma. Hiranyagarbhaya, Hiranya is middle sound, Gar is going low, Ba is middle, stretch of the to A, and Ya is singular going high. Very good. Vedatmanaya vidmahe Hiranyagarbhaya dhimahi Tanno Brahma prachodayat. Verse number 8 follows a similar starting intonation feel with the low intonations, and we also have a few familiar words from the previous verses. Dhimahi, Vidmahi, Tanno Prachodayat. So we have Na, Ra, Ya, Na, Ya, Vidmahe, Va, Su, De, Va, Ya, Dhimahi, Tan, No, Vish, Nuf, Prachodayat. Beautiful. We start on the Tanpura. Narayanaya, Narayanaya, Vidmahe, Vasudevaya dhimahi, Tanno Vishnu prachodayat. Narayanaya Vidmahe, Vasudevaya dhimahi, Tanno Vishnu prachodayat. Wonderful. We now proceed to verse number 9. We have Vaj, Ra, Na, Ka, Ya, Vidmahe. Then we have a unique sound. Tiksh, Na, Dag, Gash, Tra, Ya, Dhimahi, we're familiar with. Tanno, we're familiar with. Prachodayat, we're familiar with. So Vajranakaya Vidmahe Tikshna Daggashtraya Dhimahi Tanno Narasigumhav Prachodayat, describing the half man, half lion avatar of Lord Vishnu, who came and incarnated on the earth to rescue his devotee Prahalada. So we have Vaj, Ra, Na, Ka, Ya is the same feel of Narayanaya or Vedatmanaya. We have Vajranakaya, Vajranakaya, Vajranakaya. So you start slowly and then you increase the speed as we become more familiar. Vajranakaya Vidmahe. Then we have Tiksh. Notice the stretching of that E sound is there, Tiksh, and we're joining it with the SH sound. We're going to the beach, we see shells, so we say Tiksh. Then we have Na, Tiksh Na. Then we have Dag, which is going D-A-G, Dag, going low. Tikshna Dag, Tikshna Dag. Then the next syllable is Gush, or Gush is also allowed. Tikshna Dag Gush, Tikshna Dag Gush, Tikshna Dag Gush. Tra, middle sound, stretch of the to A, and Ya singular going high, Dhimahi. Vajranagaya Vidmahe Tikshna Daggashtraya Dhimahi, Tikshna Daggashtraya Dhimahi, Daggash, Daggashtraya, Daggashtraya Dhimahi, Tanno. Then we have Na, Ra, Si, Gum, Ganapati Gum Havamahe. We have that Gum sound there, and we have Ha, which has a Visarga, Haf. Tallo Narasigum Haf Prachodayat. Vajranakaya Vidmahe Tikshna Daggashtraya Dhimahe, Tallo Narasigum Haf Prachodayat. Vajranakaya Vidmahe Tikshna Daggashtraya Dhimahe, Tallo Narasigum Haf Prachodayat. We now continue with verse number 10, and we look at the first word. We have Bas. So double A going low. we have bas, ka, singular going low, ra, stretch of the to a and middle sound, yes, singular going high. Bhaskaraya, 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 Vidmahe, Vidmahe. 3-step is there. Bhaskaraya, Vidmahe, Mahat, Mahat, Ma and Had, middle, U, middle, T, middle, Mahadyuti, 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 Ka going low, Ra, middle, and Ya going high. D, Ma, He. Tan, No, A, Dit, Yaf, Pra, Cho, Day, Yaat. Dirgha is there. Beautiful. Bhaskaraya Vidmahe Mahadyuti Karaya Dhimahe. Bhaskaraya Vidmahe. We can put a slight comma there. Bhaskaraya Vidmahe Mahadyuti Karaya Dhimahe. Tanno Adityah Prachodayat. Bhaskaraya Vidmahe Mahadyuti Karaya Dhimahe. Tanno Adityah Prachodayat. Prachodayat. Bhaskaraya Vidmahe Mahadyuti Karaya Dhimahe. Tanno Adityah Prachodayat. Very good. Let us proceed to verse 11. Vaish Va Na Ra Ya. Notice how similar the feel is to the previous verse. Vaishvanaraya, Vaishvanaraya Vidmahe La Lilaya. So Vidmahe is fine. Now we have La, double A middle. We have Li, double I going low. And again La, double A middle. And singular going high. La li laya, la li laya, la li laya. Dhimahi is fine. Tan no. Then we have tan middle, no going high. And ag nif prachodayat. Vaishvanaraya Vidmahe La Lilaya Dhimahe Tanno Agnif Prachodayat. Now we chant it again and we try and put it in the correct flow. We find our starting key. Vaishvanaraya Vidmahe La Lilaya Dhimahe Tanno Agnif Prachodayat. Again. Vaishvanaraya Vidmahe La Lilaya Dhimahe Tanno Agnif Prachodayat. Excellent. We now look at verse 12. We see some familiar terms. We have Vidmahe, we've seen before. Dhimahe, we've seen before. Tanno, we've seen before. Prachodayat, we've seen before. So let's look at just the word before Prachodayat. We have Dur is middle and Gif because of the Visarga sound. So that is fine with what? Tanno Durgif Prachodayat. Now we start at the top. We've got Kat, double A going low. Ya, double A going low. Ya, singular going low. Na, double A middle sound. And Ya, singular going high. Very good. See how we're getting into the rhythm and the pattern. Katyayanaya, Katyayanaya Vidmahe, Katyayanaya Vidmahe. Kanya, middle sound. Ku, singular U going low. Ma, double A going middle. Ri, singular I going high. Very good. Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanya Kumari Dhimahe Tanno Durgif Prachodayat. Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanya Kumari Dhimahe Tanno Durgif Prachodayat. One more time. Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanya Kumari Dhimahe Tanno Durgif Prachodayat. Very good. We now proceed to learn the very last verse of the Sarva Devata Gayatri, the Sai Gayatri. How special! In the previous module, we learned who the Rishi was, who downloaded these wonderful verses, namely Gandi Kota Subramanyam Shastri Garu. And we learned who the Devata was, dedicated to Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, in the meter of the Gayatri meter. So let us look at some of the familiar words. We have Vidmahi, we've seen before. We have Dhimahi, we have Tanna, and we have Prachodayat. And Om we're quite familiar with. So we have Om, then we have Sa and E. Notice now this long horizontal is actually for both sounds of A and E going low. And in a way, the A and the E join together to form Sa-E. Sa-ish. And then we're joining it with the SH sound. We have a slant there, so we're going to the beach, it's a shell sound. Om Sa-ish, Om Sa-ish, Varaya, Varaya. We have Va going low, R becomes Ra going low, Varaya, Varaya. Vidmahe Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahe. Notice the beautiful 3-step, low, middle, high. Satya is middle sound. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahe Tanna Sarvah Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahe Tanna Sarvah Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarvah Prachodayat. And the last line, Om Shantish Shantish Shantihi. Thank you so much.